Good evening and welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Supervisor, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the April 11th, 2018 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. As always, we are pleased to have you here, whether you're watching in person or streaming on our YouTube channel or watching on our cable access channel. I would note that our agenda and all the supporting documents, as we do at every meeting, are on the back table here in the room, or they're available online at the Town of Brighton website, townofbrighton.org. Also want to remind everybody that after Spectrum's digital switchover, our community access channel is now cable channel 1303, a long ways up the dial from our old location on channel 12. But the meetings are still there, and we welcome everybody that's watching. We'll be proceeding in just a moment to our open forum, but let's start the meeting with a pledge. I'm going to ask Jason if you would lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I also want to hold a moment of silence honoring Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Day of Remembrance, which begins this evening at sunset. Thank you. As I mentioned, Yom HaShoah begins tonight at sunset. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising, an eternal testament to the human spirit and bravery. Today and every day we have an obligation to our neighbors here in Brighton and in the Rochester area who are Holocaust survivors, and to our world and to the family members of those Holocaust survivors to say never again. To never again allow hatred to become all-powerful, to never again allow any group of people to be persecuted and killed based on their faith or based on their race, their ethnic background, their gender, or their gender expression, or who they love. We owe this commitment to our children and grandchildren, and we owe it to the grandchildren and children of our Holocaust survivors, and we owe it especially to the blessed memory of all that died during the Holocaust. We'll now begin the open forum. As always, the open forum is an opportunity for members of the community to come in, ask questions, whether or not it's a matter that's on the agenda this evening. If you would like to participate in the open forum, I'll call it in just a moment, and if you would just raise your hand and come to the podium. But if you're at home or somewhere else watching or streaming our meeting, you can call in at 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your question or your comment to us. Again, 303-3060 is the number to call in to our open forum. And as always, if you are deaf or hearing impaired, you can call and participate in the open forum using our TDD line. The TDD line is 784-5205. To participate in the open forum using our TDD line, 784-5205. As always, we welcome your participation. Is there anyone that would like to address the board during the open forum this evening? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of one item of communication from the State of New York Department of Taxation and Finance, Office of Real Property Tax Services? It's dated today's date, and I'll discuss it when we get there.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye, and before we get any farther, last meeting, we wished Tim Keefe well and thanked him for his 30 years. But tonight, I'm very pleased to introduce Mike Guyon. Many of you have worked with Mike. He has been our town engineer for many years, and before that, he was a principal at a large engineering firm here in Rochester. But Mike is now technically our acting Commissioner of Public Works. We're going to get rid of that acting very shortly and get you right down to all of the work. But Mike has, has served us very, very well. We're very, very happy to have you, Mike, in that position. And I know you've been working hard to keep this a seamless transition, and we appreciate that. So welcome. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve and file our town board meeting minutes for the March 14th town board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We have no public hearings tonight. Can I have a motion to receive and file the one item of communication?
So moved. Second.
This is a letter, as I mentioned, from the State Department of Taxation and Finance, Office of Real Property Tax Services. And the letter advises the town that our equalization ratio for the 2018 assessment roll will be 100%. Now, that reflects our recently concluded informal review process for our revaluation. As we know, last year and so far this year, we have engaged in both a residential and commercial revaluation here in the town of Brighton. During February and March, Elaine Ainsworth and Sue Wentworth, along with Renee Morris, our assessment office staff, conducted hundreds of informal reviews of new assessments. And we appreciate everybody that took the time to come in, make their presentations. The results of those informal reviews were sent out to residents just this past week, and I want to let people know what the next step is. Starting on May 1st, the assessor's office will begin accepting applications for the formal grievance process. Grievance day is May 22nd, and starting on May 1st through May 22nd, residents who still believe that their tax assessment is too high following their informal review can submit a grievance, and the Board of Assessment Review will consider their application starting on grievance day, May 22nd. We do expect that there will be more than usual this year because it was a revaluation. There's more information about the process on the town website, and as we get a little closer to May 1st, there'll be a lot more information put on concerning the grievance procedures, the application, and everything else. But that's the next step in the process for people who are still concerned. You'll have the opportunity starting May 1st to file a formal grievance. That's true whether you're talking about a residential or a commercial property here in the town. So we have just that one item of communication. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports. Community Services Committee. Robin.
The Community Services Committee meeting has not met since our last town board meeting. Our next meeting is Wednesday, April 18th at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School, 220 Idlewood Road. As usual, members of the public are invited to attend.
Thank you. Jason, Finance.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, April 3rd. Each of the items that were discussed will appear on tonight's agenda and will be presented in further detail, except the Finance and Administrative Services Committee did discuss contract extension with price increase for SpinRite. And the FASC discussed with Tim Anderson the request from Mike Guyon to have the town supervisor execute a renewal of the first of 4 contract extensions with SpinRite Incorporated for sidewalk repair services. Only one item of the contract is being increased, resulting in an overall contract increase of 2.7%. Funds are available in the sidewalk district and the town-wide sidewalk accounts. As outlined in our resolution of last year, the town supervisor may authorize at his sole discretion each of the 4-year contract extensions. And the committee recommended that the supervisor approve this first 1-year contract renewal, but requires no formal action by the board. Our next meeting, the other item that we discussed is that we will have the results of our audit review with our internal auditors presented. At our next meeting, which is on Tuesday, April 17th, we will be meeting at an earlier time at 2:30 so that we can review the audit and then get on to our regular business. And it will be 2:30 in the afternoon, Tuesday, April 17th. Stage conference room here in the town hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Jim, Public Safety.
Public Safety met yesterday, but I don't have the report yet, so we'll report at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I have Public Works Bill.
Public Works.
Met on April 3rd, just this past, last week, Tuesday, and the matters on the agenda that we reviewed were the farmer's market bid. The first bids that we received on the initial project as designed came well above our project budget, and town staff is currently working with the design consultant to change the components of that project and looking for some alternates as well, so that we can see how much it costs to put radiant heat in the floor, opening up the second story, different roofing materials, dormers, and so forth, which apparently caused the original project to go far beyond what we had budgeted. Also, the Blossom Road Sanitary Sewer Improvement project was discussed and the bids were received. Again, there, the total cost of the project based on the bid prices received exceeds the bond resolution that we had designed to cover that construction cost. And we're looking to see what our available resources might be in other projects, perhaps to make up that shortfall. It's a very important piece of equipment that needs to be put in for our sanitary sewer project.
And we do have that item on the agenda tonight for action. We aren't changing the bond amount. We will be adding some existing reserves.
That had been referred to the Finance Committee and apparently was worked out.
Yep.
Nice job, Jason.
Thanks, Bill. And by the way, I mean, because it is important to note, when I say that we're going to be putting that in, that will still fund I think I said reserves. I meant to say fund balance. There is a difference. That will still keep us right around the top end of our recommended range for fund balance in the sewer district. So,
also, we discussed the GIGP Monroe Avenue infrastructure maintenance bids as well that were received, and this is in an effort to continue to maintain the plantings and the improvements we've made along Monroe Avenue, without which all of that work will eventually disappear. So we're going to maintain that and keep that streetscape in place. Also, the drainage at Buckland Park was discovered to be perhaps an issue. Matt Beeman, who's a superintendent of parks, had noticed that the water levels along the trail and so forth were not declining as the season progressed. And Pete Springer from the Highway Department went over as well with Matt, and they believe that perhaps there is a need to dredge or make some other improvements to the drainage system, which apparently ties into the Barclay Square neighborhood across Westland as well. So there's a large amount of water being drawn through that into a wetland up the far side of the park. And so we're going to see what plug drainage culverts there might be or what other resources we might have to alleviate that. There are no other items on the agenda. The next meeting will be May 1st at 9 o'clock a.m. in the downstairs meeting room.
Thanks very much. No old business, new business. Reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $275,433.01. And notable claims include, if you give me 1 second, to Genesee Valley Ford in the amount of $31,643 for the purchase of a new Ford Interceptor police vehicle. Also to Penny Lane Printing in the amount of $4,648.56 for the printing of the Recreation 2018 summer brochures. And to the Brighton School District in the amount of $466.20 for catering for the Easter egg hunt breakfast that was held on March 24th of this past year. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim.
Next item is to declare approval of one Town of Brighton police vehicle as surplus and authorize the disposal through the annual municipal equipment auction. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next matter, Chris.
Is to set May 9th, 2018 as a public hearing date concerning the Blossom Road Sanitary Sewer Improvements Project as required under Section 202B of the New York State Town Law. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion? This will, the matter we discussed earlier, the project cost a little bit higher than what we thought, but we have more than enough fund balance, and this resolution required, and the public hearing required under Section 202B of the New York State Town Law. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris, why don't you do the next one as well?
Next item is to seek approval to hire a particular person to the position of laborer in the Highway Department. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Darrell Roberson will be the new hire. Ken? Oh, we
Second.
should have a second. I always like seconds. Darrell Roberson, again, our new hire. We had a couple of very strong candidates this time around, and so we're pleased to offer Darrell the position. Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Plant Concepts Incorporated to provide green infrastructure maintenance services related to the Monroe Avenue GIGP project. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, this was discussed earlier. This is the maintenance of the GIGP
Yep.
plantings. Motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Robin.
The next matter is to authorize the acceptance of the transfer of approximately 8.3 acres of land to the town to be added to Persimmon Park in accordance with the incentive zoning agreement associated with the Pinnacle Hills subdivision project, and authorize the supervisor to execute and deliver documents and agreements in connection therewith. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And actually, there's a reference in the agenda It's not in the resolution because this is not an incentive zoning matter. There was earlier on
Started out as,
an
yeah.
incentive zoning proposal that would have involved a lot more units, but decision was made. I'm sorry, Ken?
Right, I think that this was done pursuant to the town's
Cluster zoning.
cluster zoning.
cluster.
It's a 278.
It's
You
cluster
can tell that's what I was talking about, the cluster zoning.
Yes,
It's a-
that is correct.
It's a hand gesture.
Which again is a state law authorized procedure. So less intensive a development, and it does involve the transfer of these over 8 acres, which will increase the size of Persimmon Park. So Robin made that motion, and we have a second, I think, from Jason. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jim?
Yeah, next item is authorization for the Brighton Police Department to file an application, if awarded, for the supervisor to execute a related documents with the Federal Railroad Administration Pilot Grant Program for grant funding to support local police assistance in rail trespassing enforcement activities. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We've talked about this. We talked about this a couple of years ago after a very serious incident involving the CSX main line that runs through the East Brighton area, and the fact that for many years people have trespassed on those tracks. Trespassing is one thing, but it's a safety issue. It's a significant safety issue, and it's one that Chief Henderson and I spent a lot of time meeting with the neighbors up there off Clover Street, and we reached out and worked with CSX to involve the rail police with that organization as well as our own to do some enforcement. This grant program, we don't know yet how much will be awarded, but it is an opportunity to help fund that important policing along those tracks to make sure that people stay safe. So that's what this is, and the timing is very short, so we needed this to get our application in, and hopefully we will get some money to help us. So we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jason, a motion to receive and file the,
Yes, I move we receive and file the expenses and revenue report for the month ending March 31, 2018.
Second.
Paula, are you,
I
do you
am.
have a report?
I
Go to
am.
it.
I do. So we're going to talk about the first quarter of 2018. We're going to take a walk back to last October when you adopted your budget. So as you recall, we adopted a budget in our main funds, which is our general fund, our highway fund, library, and debt service fund. We had just over $25 million in net appropriations. That was funded by a tax levy, which is fully collected usually by this time of the year, of $14.7 million. We also had some appropriated fund balance to the tune of $1,095,000, and we also brought in some reserves, and it was $85,000 as well. So all of our other revenues, aside from our tax levy, was $9.2 million, just over $9.2 million. So coming into March, usually the first month in the year, January and some of February, we're working very hard to close out the previous year. We have claims coming in. Many of those claims that Jason, you've approved over the past couple of months really relate to a prior period. So as a result of that, our expenditures aren't quite what they would be when we start talking in the next quarter when we get into June. Revenues, however, we've collected our share of our sales tax, which we usually do by the end of February. Thank you to our town clerk. So now we're going to look at this other $9.2 million in revenues. 51% of that $9.2 million relates to our sales tax, which is estimated at $3.8 million. And the other big share of that is our mortgage tax. We haven't collected any of either of those revenues because May will be the first month that we collect and post our sales tax, as that does relate to the first quarter of this current year. And then we don't get any mortgage tax until usually June. We'll get those semi-annual payments in June and December. But as a result, we've got about $4.5 million of revenue that's other items, departmental revenue, other types of income, grants, state aid, pilots, all those kinds of things. And to date, we've collected 33% of those revenues, separated alone. So we're doing good on our revenues, trending okay, about where we were in the previous year. No surprises there. We'll talk about expenditures now. So the biggest share of our budget, of course, is salaries and fringes. We're 25% through the year. And we want to look at that as a benchmark. We are within our range for our budgets, which should be at 25% for salaries for the first quarter. We're actually trending just a little bit under the 25%. Our overtime, however, came in just a little high. This was due to the highway and the early season snow and probably some wind and other things that happened early in the year. This is usually customary for our overtime and highway because January, February, March, we're still having weather. We'll keep an eye on it and we'll track it through, of course, the quarters that follow. Our employee benefits follow that. They're at, again, 25%, with the exception of our health insurance, which tends to always run a little higher because we're paying 4 months' worth of payments in the first quarter of the year. However, when we scale that and look at that, again, we're at about 25% for our fringe benefits as well. Everything is on trend. So exclusive of our wages and our fringe benefits, we've got $6.3 million of appropriations. This year, with our expenses, which include encumbrances, we are trending at 47%. This is not out of the ordinary, and when I look at what we've actually spent, we are well within our 25% of budget.
47% sounds like a lot, but
It
we
does, it
encumber, there's a lot of encumbrances to start the year to enable the departments to
That's correct.
engage in their normal
And what that
operations.
also helps, the departments do a great job at that because that helps us know and lock up funds for purchases that we are anticipating. Our purchase orders are nothing more than reserving the allowances that we've been given to spend so that we don't go over budget. That's the biggest thing about doing our purchase orders. So purchases don't come in as a surprise, which can happen, but hopefully we minimize that by doing the encumbrances and making sure that all of the items that we know we're going to spend are locked up, and then we know what's available to be spent. Early in the year, the departments are putting in their encumbrances, their purchase orders, so when we look at what we've spent and what we've got rolled up in purchase orders, we are looking at actually being right on target, even though the 47% looks high. Really, when I look at actual expenditures, we are down at below the 25% mark. And some of that, of course, is attributed to the fact that a lot of our expenses for January came in that were for December. So again, the first quarter is not very exciting in the year. So our liability insurance premiums, again, we are paying those. We're changing some timing on that. We are at 42%, but that's our payment through June, which would normally be a 50%. So again, well below budget there. And our equipment is what we're looking at encumbering a little bit higher. That's at 40%, and that's because all of the anticipated equipment that's in our budget, our department heads are getting their purchase orders done in anticipation to complete those purchases. Overall, And utilities, which is a big area we want to watch as well, they tend to run a little bit higher early in the year, a little bit lower through the summer months, and then they tick back up at towards the end of the year. I'm happy to tell you for the first 3 months, we're at 24.5%, trending right on budget where we are supposed to be. Debt service is always on budget, so we know that. Those are payments that are planned, they're payments that are made when the time is due, and they're always, always on budget. So the first quarter, we're running well. Our encumbrances are up, which is where we expect them to be. We're doing the proper planning so that our purchases are coming in on time and within budget. It's too early to see any negative trends, but we'll continue to monitor all that. And as the quarters roll by, we'll be reporting to you how that goes.
Great. Thank you very much, Paula. We have a motion to receive and file the report. Any comments, any questions? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. A couple of other matters of the supervisor. Lawn and garden debris pickup has begun this week. The windstorm has added to that work. Certainly a little bit more in the way of branches and whatnot than we would like to see. Fortunately, not as bad as last year's windstorm. Just a couple, again, reminders. If you have small quantities, particularly of things like sticks, please don't just put them out. Containerize them. A, they'll look neater. B, they'll get picked up quicker. Our container truck is able to get around town more quickly and get those things picked up. Do not pile your debris in the street, just like leaves. Your lawn and garden debris should be kept on the lawn. If you have a sidewalk, pile them between the sidewalk and the pavement of the street. If you don't have a sidewalk, pile them in your lawn. And there are really two reasons for that. Drainage issues, three really. Drainage issues, all those debris in the street and the gutter can cause neighborhood flooding. It can also clog our storm drains. But two, it's a safety issue. We have cyclists, we have drivers. If they're having to maneuver around piles, they may not see pedestrians or other cyclists. So please try to do that. And the third reason, because it's against the law. That's maybe the best reason of all, not to put them there. Yesterday I was at Brighton High School, as I do every semester. I spoke to the law and government class. The law and government class, it's just a great opportunity to interact with those students. They interact with me. They write, they send emails. One of their class assignments is to write to a government official. And it's always gratifying, the number that want to write to me. And they're writing about real local issues, about, traffic conditions, often around the school, sometimes in their own neighborhood. So I get a chance to come in and talk to them a little bit, explain a little bit just the structure of town government as opposed to the state or federal, the three branches of government, how that fits in at the town level. But really the fun part of the class is I hold a mock public hearing on a local law. We convene the fictional town, slightly fictional town of Barrontown. Always really enjoy the feedback. This year's class was no exception. Some great dialogue within the class. This year I used a law actually that the town board repealed about 3 or 4 years ago. If you recall, we had a law regulating amusement devices, video games, pool tables. They all thought it was very quaint that we used to regulate. And I don't tell them this, by the way. When we go in, I don't tell them that it was a real Town of Brighton law. It really amazes them when they find out that. And of course, one of the reasons we got rid of the law, amusement devices are defined as games like video games and pool that you have to pay for. And everybody these days walks around with one of those in their pocket or in their purse, their phone. But it used to be, until we repealed the law, that you had to get a license, and in fact could not install such games within 500 feet of a school or place of worship. And so that was a great opportunity. Thank you to Mr. Wilson and to all the great students there in the class. Couple of we got some good news. Brighton has been designated as a clean energy community. We'll be formally issuing a release on that, but by completing 4 of the 10 high-impact clean energy requirements, so we are now designated as a clean energy community. That's a program that was initiated by Governor Cuomo in 2016. It does provide some support for communities for grant funding opportunities, and Mike Guyon, in his old hat as town engineer, was really coordinating that effort, and you'll be coordinating that going forward and getting us some money for this. This is separate, by the way. We had previously been designated as a climate smart community, just another way that we are indicating our commitment to energy, reducing our energy consumption, and in particular increasing our renewable energy use. So good news from that perspective. Finally, we do have coming up over the next month or so our 3 signature recycling events. On April 28th is our pharmaceutical take-back program. That's a Saturday from 10 to 2 on the public safety wing of Town Hall. It's a drive-through, and that's in conjunction with the DEA and the Brighton Police Department. Thank you, Captain Cathaldi, and thank you to the police explorers who always help us with that event. Then on Saturday, May 12th, right here at 9 o'clock, right here at Town Hall, is our annual Brighton Clean Sweep. Robin is coordinating that activity. We would encourage you to sign up on the Town of Brighton Recreation Department webpage, but if you haven't done that, just show up. We'll get you gloves, bags, we'll feed you bagels, donuts. Thank you to a number of local Brighton businesses that will specifically announce and acknowledge. Spend a couple of hours doing Brighton's spring cleaning. After the snow melts and the winds of spring, there's a lot of debris, a lot of trash that gets blown around. This will be an opportunity to pick that up. And once you finish a couple of hours of work, you can go back to French Road School, where we'll have lunch and some recognition and some thank yous. So please do come out May 12th, 9 o'clock here at Town Hall. For those of you that have students at the high school or at French Road, you'll probably be hearing about your student children or grandchildren who are doing it with the school, as they do every year. And then finally, on Saturday, May 19th, is our semi-annual electronics recycling and paper shredding events. That's from 9 to noon at the Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, the other side of Elmwood Avenue, maybe a quarter mile or so down the road. Bring in old electronic equipment for recycling and old documents that you want to have shredded. It's really not for just loose paper, but medical records, tax records. We do it, of course, after tax day, so it's a great opportunity to get rid of some old financial records. I do have to let everybody know that we will not, because of the sort of changing rules of electronics recycling, we will not be able to accept television sets or computer monitors. And that's either the old CRT tubes or the flat screen monitors. So none of those can be accepted this year. I believe the Eco park with a fee. We'll take them, as well as some of the electronics retailers.
That is correct.
All right. So again, that's Saturday, May 19th, 9 a.m. to noon. And just so people have a sense of how big these programs have been over the years, we have, over those years, collected almost 234,000 pounds. That is over 117 tons of electronics that have been recycled, and 179,000 pounds of documents, or almost 90 tons of paper that have been shredded. We will shred it while you wait. If you want to watch and make sure it gets shredded on site. So if you have any questions, there's information up on our webpage. There are flyers out on our front desk, or you can reach out to Council Member Robin Wilt at robin.wilt@townofbrighton.org. So that's all I have for my matters of the supervisor tonight. Matters of the town board.
I do have a couple of items affiliated with our recreation programs. The summer program brochures for the Brighton Recreation Department have been mailed. They went out the first week of April. We're very excited for our summer offerings, and we're looking forward to the warmer weather, as I'm sure everyone else is. Brochures will also be available online at the BCSD buildings, Town Hall, Brighton Memorial Library, and the Brookside Recreation Center. In addition to that, our summer playground camp registration for residents begins next Tuesday, April 17th at 9 a.m. Resident registration for summer playground camps is coming up very quickly. Spaces in camps are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. Brighton residents registration, again, will begin Tuesday, April 17th at 9 a.m. Registration is required and space is limited. It may be done online, again, in mail or in person at the Brighton Recreation Department, or online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. In addition, our New York State Boater Safety course it was conducted on April 10th, and we'll have our last program on April 12th, tomorrow. New York State does require that all individuals born on or before 5/1/1996 successfully complete an approved course in boater education in order to operate a motorboat. Students who successfully complete the course will receive a temporary boating safety certificate. Permanent boating safety certificates do not expire. A minimum of 6 participants is needed for the program to run. Full program details and registration, again, may be found online. Please call the Recreation Department with any questions, or if you're having problems registering, the number is 585-784-5260, extension 0. Our winter and spring programs are ongoing at the Brighton Recreation Department. Again, those are not exclusive to Brighton residents. If you are a member of the neighboring communities, you can also sign up for our recreation programs. Classes start throughout the spring, and registration is ongoing. Spaces in the programs are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. Register early to ensure your program of choice does not get canceled. Again, online or in person at the Recreation Department or at the number that I cited earlier. And you may also join us for our winter farm market on Sundays from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center, 220 Idlewood Road. Our upcoming programs of interest at the Farmers Market: Zumba Gold, adult tennis, Kidditch, Marvelous Makers, after-school fencing, a walk on the Brickyard Trail, which our supervisor, I'm sure, is very familiar with, and the New York State Boater Safety course. Make sure you do like our programs online at Facebook.
Thanks, Robin. And a couple of special events, special recreation events that are coming up. On Friday night, April 27th, is our Spring Swing Dance. The Recreation Department hosting that over at their rec center. $10 a ticket. That starts at 7 o'clock Friday night, April 27th. And this is a great event every year that the Recreation Department puts on. The annual Youth Fishing Derby over at the Town Park on Westfall Road. The Bassmasters group comes in and helps teach kids fishing techniques, working with our recreation staff and a couple of our retired recreation staff that love coming out and keep doing that event because they so enjoy working with the kids every year. That is at 9 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, April 28th. The $5 fee for kids. Again, we would appreciate it if you would sign up online, but if you forget, just show up and they'll probably be able to accommodate you. But again, that's Saturday, April 28th, 9 a.m. at the Town Park on Westfall Road. There's a lot going on. I mean, between what Robin said and these events, I just can't say enough. We talk about the quality of life, but all of these recreation programs for people of all ages. I mean, I haven't talked about the senior program or the senior trips, and there are some great trips that the seniors take. So when that bulletin comes, check it out. If you misplace it, it's always online. I skipped over the attorney to the town. Anything tonight? And the town clerk, anything tonight?
Nothing from me.
All right.
And Bill, just to mention, as part of the Public Works efforts here, as the season changes, obviously, we're starting with our cleanup efforts and such, and the yard debris and such, but before that, we've just finished a round of reseeding along the sidewalks and so forth. It's just inevitable that, sidewalks are going to drift off, particularly in the heavy spring snows. We've had some difficulty, but the town crews have been around pulling back the sod and reseeding it. And if anyone still has an issue with that, please call into the Public Works Department. They'd be happy to send a crew out and finish that job up. I know I just happened to see them going by my house the other day.
Good. Thanks, Chris. Any other town board matters? Then can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate, litigation, and a matter relating to public safety?
So moved. Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Why the move and second happened so fast? I missed.
It was Jim and Chris. Jim moved, Chris seconded.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogel.
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. I don't anticipate that we'll be coming back out after executive session, so thank you, and we'll see you at our next board meeting, again, 7 o'clock, April 25th, right here at Town Hall. Have a great evening, everybody.
Good.